It's Pastor Mike back with another roundtable. I've got Pastor Elliot and Pastor Ben with me. We want to talk a little bit about boycotting. That's a hot topic these days, especially as the news continues to pump out things that are just abhorrent to Christians as we look at the Bible. And these companies are making stands, whether it's on gay marriage or whatever it might be. And people take to Facebook and say we've got to boycott all these organizations. So give me some thoughts on that. Let's get some biblical discussion going on boycotting.
Right. Well, I think a lot of even the emotion that is generated makes people want to boycott results from even a surprise of, I can't believe that this is happening. And I think even that's something, maybe how we even come at it from the get-go is how surprised should we be when we hear news of sin in the world? Because the Bible says it's going to be bad and it's going to get worse. So when we see those headlines, part of it we shouldn't be so much shocked is, hey, that's exactly what the Bible said.
That's 1 Peter 4:12. Brothers, do not be surprised at the fiery trial when it comes among you. If you're going to live as a Christian in a non-Christian world, some of those things are going to happen. So it's a great point. And I would hope too that maybe some of this reaction that comes out of it, I would hope it comes from maybe a bit of a good righteous indignation.
Absolutely.
If someone is promoting things that are against the Bible, I'm hoping it's coming from that. But we also do want to be wise, and I think maybe one of the places we can start talking about is 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Paul's going to tell the Corinthians, hey, I'm telling you, don't associate with immoral, swindlers, these bad people. Not the people of the world, because you would have to be taken out of the world to do that.
Right.
But I'm telling you, if someone says, I'm a Christian, and then I start doing these things, those are the people you want to stay away from. You want to boycott those.
Passage I just opened to before we started rolling here, and that's exactly what he says in verse 10. You'd have to leave the world if you didn't want to associate with non-Christians. Right. The concern of separation, I think, clearly needs to be put in its context, and that is we cannot tolerate unrepentant sin in the church.
Yeah.
And I just got a question about that today, about, can't we just go ahead and baptize people even though they're living, immoral lives, and because we love them, we don't want to deny those? And the answer is no. The Bible makes it very clear, and it ends this way in verse 13. God will judge those outside the church, but as for you, purge the evil person from among you.
Within,
if you're repentant, we can't tolerate that. But in the world, it's a different story. Here's Paul with the attitude that I think we all have when we see these things. The world is crucified to me and I to it. We don't go along with hardly anything the world stands for. But then he goes around and says, meet in the marketplace. He tells the Corinthians, just don't ask questions for the sake of conscience. And we can't get out of the immorality in the world. So I guess even in what we've said so far, our position isn't to say, hey, everybody boycott these organizations, although we're not saying if you choose to, that's a bad thing. Right? Let's talk
absolutely.
about that.
I mean, there's no one is forcing you to do business at, Starbucks or wherever it else may be that, it's not like you're sinning if
Levi's,
you don't.
Apple Computer,
Denny's.
you could make the list, right?
So there's by no means are you sinning if you choose not to go there. You're totally free to do that, and if you feel compelled, even the Bible puts a heavy stress on the conscience, and if your conscience is bothering you to go there, I wouldn't certainly say, well, ignore your conscience and go anyways.
Here's the great principle from Romans 14. He says, what matters is can you give thanksgiving for what you're about to do? And if you're, if it's buying a cup of coffee from this place, if you can't honestly give thanks to God for it, well then don't do that, because for you that could steer you down the wrong path, and we don't want to do that.
But as you started, Ben, the problem often is the ignorance that we have about where our dollars go anyway, or the association. I often call it the argument that we make called guilt by association. We feel guilty if there's some tie to something immoral. And the problem is it's because we're ignorant of most of those connections. I don't know who made this table. This could have been made by Satanists for all I know. But we bought it because it worked and it fit and it was a good price and it serves the purpose, and I give thanks for it. The shirts that you're wearing, who knows how these things work? And if you learn those things, you could say, hey, it's like the days of the week. Sunday, a day to worship the sun. Monday, a day to worship the moon. We don't change those just because it's good. Pagan associations. We redeem those things. We say we're going to use this table for the glory of God. We're going to wear these shirts for the glory of God. We're going to worship God on a Sunday. We don't we don't care about those connections because our conscience is at a place where we're not stumbled by those things.
Right.
But if your conscience is stumbled because of a statement that Apple Computer makes or Levi makes or Starbucks makes, hey, you certainly don't have to give your money to those organizations to buy your computers, jeans, and coffee.
And I think maybe there's a difference of categories between what maybe we could say is boycotting on one hand and then just abstaining on the other hand.
Yeah.
Boycotting, you're trying to strong arm someone by, we're not going to do this, and if enough of us do it, you're going to change your mind, which I think Christians are going to get a lot farther by preaching the gospel in society than by boycott. But if you want to abstain from it, then by all means, go for it.
Right, absolutely.
And Jesus' words, I think, are very helpful in John 17, right? He's praying for his disciples. They're in the world, but they're not of the world. Right. What they need to do is be sanctified by the truth, go out and preach the gospel, be unified, and that's how they're going to make the difference in the world, like Ben's saying. Putting a boycott up is not really going to do that, but doing what Jesus is praying for us is exactly what we should be doing at that
Well,
time.
as premillennial pastors and not postmillennial, and they call us negative sometimes, but we do understand things are going to go from bad to worse. Right. It's only going to get worse. Sure. And I guess you're going to be on an abacus in a bathrobe. Eventually, if you're going to try to avoid any organization that's going to represent something immoral or unbiblical. Right. So we've just got to recognize the reality of this. We're not going to usher in the kingdom by boycotting. We're not going to usher in the kingdom by spending our dollars strategically, although you are free to spend your dollars. And we were just quoting earlier today, Romans 14, let every man be fully convinced in his own mind. So if you do have a conscience problem, that's certainly a decision you can make. But we want to say, just as pastors, we recognize what the Bible has to say about the reality of living in this world. So hope that was helpful. Thanks, Pastor Ben, Pastor Elliott. Appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.